Good evening, everybody. I think we're going to go ahead and get started.
I'm 61, going to be 62, and I have a lot of legal problems, but I have zero money.
She never had any services available to her to help in her situation.
It seems to me that the only justice you can get is what you can afford.
Most of us as just people in the population, not attorneys and not trained in court procedures, we don't understand the system, and quite frequently we don't trust what we hear because it's not clear English.
What I'd like to see is a plan.
Many of you may think that we already have a statewide system for providing civil legal services. We don't. And I think the reason that people might think that really comes from a number of different ideas. Number one, there's a number of entities that are out there trying to fill a niche, trying to do some things. And then other people may think, well, we've got public defender's office. They've got offices all over the state. They've got attorneys that handle all of this, and the public defenders are taking care of all this. Well, that's not accurate. They're handling criminal cases. We have a justice gap. You know, one of the foundational principles of this country, justice for all. We have a gap between what's promised by that phrase. Simply put, there are too many people that in this day and age are shut out of the system. They don't know where to turn. Who are these people that we're talking about? We're talking about elderly on fixed income that may need some help with a will or guardianship papers, or trying to do something with federal benefits that they're not getting.
There are families that live in substandard housing who need help with their landlords. There are young mothers, perhaps caught in abusive relationships, who may need a protection order, or divorce, or child custody arrangement. And then there are the kids that are involved in these kinds of situations who need protection of the law and a respite from strife. There are tens of thousands of people in Wyoming who cannot get the civil legal services they need.
There's a tremendous unmet need out there. As the economy has gone south, as people have lost their jobs, formerly people who had good incomes, good wages, had houses and the rest, are now facing medical bankruptcies, foreclosures, all sorts of things besides just the domestic issues that are really giving rise to a need for the state as a whole to look at this problem and see what we can do about it.
Nationwide, state studies and national studies have shown that when we talk about low to moderate income populations, fully 80% of those people have a legal need for which they cannot get help.
The self-sufficiency standard for Wyoming, for Laramie County, says that each adult would need to earn $9.64 an hour, or a little over $40,000 a year, to be self-sufficient. What if those two adults were not making that? So my example is if each adult was making $8 an hour, which comes to a little over almost $34,000 for the year. Now that sounds like they're doing okay. Well, I'm going to take you through some averages from the self-sufficiency standard and the research that they did. So that's a monthly amount of a little over $2,800. So the first thing that comes out, of course, is your taxes, which gets you down to $2,448. Housing, the average two-bedroom apartment in Laramie County comes to $612. And talking to my colleagues, we think that must not include utilities. This family with two kids, either one kid is sleeping on the couch or the infant is in the bedroom with the adults. We're not talking about a lot of space or room. So that's another $600. So we're already down to $1,800 for the month. Child care, the average for the full-time infant and before and after school for the other child, it would come to around $742 a month. So we're down to around $1,100. If that family knows about the child tax credit, they can get around $277 a month back. So that gets them back up to $1,371. So now we go to transportation. And again, this is an average from the self-sufficiency standard that sounds crazy to me. It says it's $454. A car payment, gas, insurance, they're saying that much for transportation. I think it's probably more than that. That has us down to under $1,000. Food, this standard is with the infant, it includes diapers and those kinds of things. So they're saying $750 for this family of 4 for the month, which means they have $165 left for the entire month. We have not done health care, health insurance, savings, clothing, school supplies, a college fund, participating in sports, renter's insurance, going to the CFD carnival, having any kind of fun, buying books for their kids, having a pet, having life insurance. None of those things are in this standard, and they have $165 left. So for me, standing here with the upbringing that I had, we were able to do all these things in my family, but this family will not be able to do that. So that's my quick picture of what a family that is not considered in poverty. This is around 150% of poverty at this rate, and this is how this family is doing in our community.
We get those people coming through all the time without counsel as well in criminal cases. And oftentimes there's either not enough time or not enough resources for them really to express what they need to have expressed, either to the court or if it's a jury trial to the jury, whether it be a criminal case or a civil case. And the process goes so much smoother if there's counsel on the other side.
As a district court judge, I have only the information and evidence that I'm allowed to consider. And a pro se litigant doesn't know the means by which you get that information before the court.
A year and a half ago, I was a victim of domestic violence, and it was pretty bad. And on one of my meetings with Monica and Bill, they came to me, they said, Raylene, they said, when you're in court, you're going to be asked, why have you not filed for a divorce? And I was a little embarrassed, and I thought to myself, wow. And I looked at Monica and I said, you know, I can't afford it to go and pay for an attorney and all that. I just can't do it. So then they directed me and they said, you can pick up a pamphlet and you can do it yourself, and Ed will be glad to help you. And like Monica said, this pamphlet it's crazy. And I was like, there was no way I could possibly do it. So I started going through it, and the front of the page, and it tells you all this, which ones you have to bring with you. And we got through with it, and I would run back and forth to the court like 4 or 5 times a day just because it was just absolutely crazy. I did file for assistance to help with my divorce and with my domestic violence a year and a half ago. And I still have not heard from him. So, I agree with everybody. We do need help. The women and the men, everybody needs a little bit of help.
But, no matter what your income level is, you have the right to have access to good, competent legal representation.
We're seeing more people come to public health recently who have no jobs anymore. People who have always worked and who have made big salaries in the past now are coming to us, and we're helping them buy medications or go see the doctor. These are people who have never had to ask for help before.
Also, we have a lot of people who work for a living who are very proud, but who don't make a great deal. They're not eligible for low income, but they don't have enough money to buy services for themselves, and that's a huge number.
My ex was awarded the residence in the divorce, and he was ordered to relieve me of the debt by refinancing or selling or whatever. And I figured he might do it, but he never did, and they foreclosed. And they kept sending me these things, well, you should sell this house. And I was ordered by the court to, quit claim and just let him have it. but I had no way of selling this house because it was his. And I couldn't get him to do it, and he just let it go, and now he owes, it was a HUD house, so it was a federal loan. And they don't accept state divorce decrees to say this person's supposed to get you off this, but they didn't. So you're either stuck with paying it, making him somehow get your name off of it, or bankruptcy. And my husband, we're not low income, maybe moderate, but with the bills that we have, we're not able to, you know, pay for a lawyer too. So I'm kind of stuck between, you know, do I do this and skip out on my bills and forego my credit to pay for a lawyer? Or do we just let it go and we pay for his, you know, his debt?
In our situation, we had literally both parents in jail and could not get parental rights revoked. So, I mean, you have to stop and look at what's happening to the children.
Just last week we had somebody come in and the woman didn't speak any English. She came in with a relative who interpreted for her, and she was involved in a purchase of a vehicle, and she was trying to sue to get her money back because the vehicle was repossessed by the man who sold it to her. Going through all this with her and going to court with her, she had no idea what was going on. If I would have been there to represent her, we would never have got out the fact that the guy who sold her the vehicle didn't own the title. It was a very key fact that would have changed everything if that wouldn't have come out. She was going to lose that case otherwise. That's just one example. We had to find an interpreter for her really quick. We had to get her into court, and it's those type of barriers that we have to overcome.
In one case, a woman is a wife and mother of children. She's receiving services from the University of Wyoming Domestic Violence Center. She wants her husband and the father of her children to relinquish parental rights. He refuses to sign any divorce papers, and the judge throws out the case. A woman shares her long story of domestic violence while living in another state, in which she is able to secure a restraining order which is repeatedly violated. A non-union employee, 2 years on the job, is injured on the job and is actually removed from the workplace by an ambulance. After years of living in a crowded apartment and after several months of one parent working a new job, a family saves up enough money to pay the security deposit and first month rent to move into a 3-bedroom house. The only problem is 2 of the bedrooms are basement rooms with no egress. A single mother with 2 kids working a full-time job that entails an average of 15 hours overtime each week has her wages garnished at 25%. She makes an escape to Wyoming, but the perpetrator tracks her down and begins stalking her. After 2 weeks at home on workers' comp, the employee receives notice of termination for failure to report to work. Then just days before the new tenants move in, the hot water heater bursts and floods the basement, saturating the 30-year-old carpet that actually disintegrates as the water is vacuumed out. She remembers getting something in the mail that looked like an official document of some sort. She was able to read the words, but the words didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I feel like I ought to have some really insightful closing remarks, and I'm a little overwhelmed, frankly. I kind of have that sense of the first time I went snorkeling. I sat on a porch and looked out, saw the ocean, it was beautiful, saw the waves, and then I went snorkeling, and oh my God, this is an entire world that I had no idea existed. Everything I hear seems a little less talk and a lot more action is called for. And I think this meeting and the comments that are made really have made an impression. We need to take this and move forward and not just let it end here, and we will do that. And I encourage your participation, your help, to come up with some practical solutions to deal with this, to figure out ways to coordinate the resources that do exist, and to work to get more resources so we really can do the job we're supposed to do for the citizens of the state.
what are we waiting on? The need's here, and I think everybody agrees with that. And if we have, where do we go? What's the next step to get this thing rolling and get some help to the people who need it?